I am a survivor of child abuse. I'm a survivor of child abuse by adoptive parents. I also have adoptive siblings, and my whole family is hearing except for me. My adoptive parents couldn't conceive. And when I was a senior in high school, I ran away. I was fleeing domestic violence. After that, I connected with my adopted sister every once in a while, but in 2006, things got real hairy and we lost touch. I did not fully understand what was going on in our family and thought it was best for me to focus on myself and to recover from my childhood. But last year, my adopted sister's child, my niece from Florida, texted me. She found me on Facebook. She sent me a direct message and said, Mom moved to Florida from from Indiana. And honestly, I wasn't ready for it. Until recently, a few weeks ago, just in March of this year, I was giving it some real thought. Should I reach back out? Should I not? Should I reach back out? Yeah. So I finally responded to my niece. And I said, I'm so sorry for the delay in this response. My niece was thrilled to hear from me. And we messaged from, I would say, about 2 in the afternoon till 7:30 at night. These long texts going back and forth. It was beautiful to connect with my niece. So I asked about my sister, how's she doing, what's she like? My niece said, oh, she's living in Florida. And she said, you know, your adopted sister has mental illness. She has bipolar. And I responded, I said, oh, it could be from the drugs. And the reason I said this is because that's what I was told growing up. My adoptive parents told me that my sister was on drugs. And so I just said this nonchalantly. My adoptive parents, named Elizabeth and George, I just said they were the ones that told me she has a problem. They kept telling me that she was doing cocaine and all these other drugs. And I said, oh, maybe it's because her ex-husband abused her. And this would have been before the kids were born. And she's trying to survive that trauma. You have to keep in mind, my sister is 9 years older than I am. So we kept messaging back and forth. And I told my niece to give my adopted sister my phone number. And I was blown away. And I felt terrible. Because I was not aware of what was fully going on in our family. So my sister and I are finally reconnecting. I'm learning that some of these things weren't true. And I had asked her, how did you recover from the drugs? And she looked at me and she's like, I was never on drugs. But wait, I remember you were in rehab. You were at some hospital or some place with these that looked very institutional. You had those fluorescent lights down the hallway and the doors. I remember the metal doors and the metal window, and I had to be held up to say goodbye to you. And she said, yes, I was in rehab. It was a halfway house, though. It didn't have to do with drugs. I have bipolar. And I was in shock. So I instantly connected with my niece again. I said, I am so sorry about the comments I made about your mother, because that's what Elizabeth and George told me. That's what our adoptive parents told me. And my niece forgave me. And I wondered, where she got her mental illness from. My sister was born in Germany and was adopted 14 years after World War II ended. So it makes me think that her birth parents were survivors of World War II. They were children during that horrific war. And there is possible that generational trauma was passed down. I have 2 nephews that have autism. I have a great nephew who has autism and ADHD. I have 2 other great nephews that have ADHD. So it's possible it could be hereditary also. And then it's stemming from World War II. It wasn't drugs, but I was brainwashed by my adoptive parents. I have no regrets that I've reconnected with my sister and that it's taken this long. We had this wonderful opportunity to catch up and to come to an understanding between the 2 of us. And she told me, I never liked her adoptive father, my adoptive father, because my mother remarried after my sister had left the house. And he had mental health issues growing up. He was in an orphanage. And this was in the 1920s. At this point in time, they were selling babies back then. And that was his story growing up. This was happening in Memphis, Tennessee. So I have no regrets. My niece and I have actually talked about when I can come and visit them in Florida, and I told them I'm off in Thanksgiving. And my niece was like, yes. So I've already bought my ticket to go to Florida over Thanksgiving break so I can surprise my sister. I have no regrets. Sorry, not sorry.